Sheehan, for him to really take a positive step in the right direction today, what did you see in just how the stuff was playing, the swing and miss he was getting tonight?
I thought Emmett was very good tonight. I think that the last three outings, each of them, he's gotten better. And for me, that's the message. I think in totality, however many pitches he threw, I think that a lot better quality of pitch making, the stuff. And so that's something for us to build on. And I thought the sequencing was better. I thought the delivery stayed intact. And yeah, there's a couple balls that we like to have back. But I think for me, he's a guy that should, get through 6 innings. He's physical. He has a lot of different pitches. And so this is an outing that, again, we take a couple pitches back, then it's a completely different outing. But it was certainly a positive for me.
In line with guys just kind of getting on track, when you look at Jack Dreyer, for him to strike out the side today, especially after an outing in Toronto in which he was just kind of getting back on the contact. I mean, for him, a young player, what did it say is just how he's able to kind of switch back on and kind of get things going so quickly in a next outing?
It speaks to his makeup. He's got a very good head, and he adjusted from his last outing in Toronto, and it was important to get him back out there. And you saw the command today. The fastball was located. The slider was good, and really efficient. That's who he is. And so, not surprising. And it was, like I said, it was just good to get him back out there.
With Emmett, just kind of game state and bullpen aside, what can facing the top of the order a third time through, like having to push through that 6th inning, do for him from a development sense?
I think it's confidence, and I don't recall the last time he finished 6 innings, and certainly with spring training and this season, and it's been a while. So I think for him to go through 2.5 times or 3 times, a little over 3 times, 3.5 times, was great for him, great for the confidence, and his arsenal should lend itself to that. And so, again, you can fret over a couple pitches, or you can kind of build on the positives. And for me, to get through 6 innings and to feel like there's more in there, which there was more in there, I chose to go to Dreyer, but there was still more in there. So that was a good thing. And again, whenever he's slotted into pitch, I think it's going to keep getting better.
This is 10 straight games. You've had the starter go at least 5. Most of those it's been 6. Like, how important has that been, and kind of what it's allowed you to do, which is like the bullpen usage early this year?
It's been great, and I think that it speaks to those guys being efficient. Obviously, they're very talented, and so I think that there's times where you're going to have to lean on the bullpen, and other times that you're going to have to lean on the starter. And right now, these guys are allowing us to deploy the bullpen in their rightful spots. Those guys are all pretty fresh, and we're going to have to lean on them at some point. But it's nice to kind of get our feet underneath us with the starting pitching as the season starts, and so that all credit goes to the starters.
You're just staying away from Diaz tonight with the workload plan?
Yeah, just staying away from Diaz. He was down today, and I think for me, it's just, somebody mentioned it yesterday, the velocity was down, so we'll probably, see how he feels tomorrow, and I'm not sure what we're going to do tomorrow, but yeah, I think tonight we're just going to stay away from him.
How have you seen Emmett sort of do the last month or so, where clearly he's kind of doing this mechanical stuff, trying to figure stuff out, but still have to go out there and compete? How much relief do you think it is for him now? It seems like he's on the other side of that, where it's starting to take back up.
It's great. It's great. I think the last few outings, I think even more today, where he was just in compete mode, making pitches and really not chasing velocity like he was in spring training earlier in the season. And I do think that there was a few starts ago where the velocity was still down, but he was still getting guys out. And so that just speaks to how good he is and how talented. And then tonight was probably his best velocity night. And so, with the delivery work, the outward looking at competing, all that stuff, that's what you're looking for from a young pitcher. So he's still young as far as service time and, innings in the big leagues, but, he's really talented.
How much does the depth of the rotation, the ability to drop Shohei into the rotation, allow guys to work through things between starts?
It does, and I think that's kind of one of the hallmarks of our club is we got a lot of depth, and so to be able to, drop guys in, give guys an extra day, essentially, well, we have 6 starters. And so to be able to do that and trust those guys to get into games and still not tax the bullpen is great. And not every team can do that. And so, but I do think that certainly early on it gives Robo and Emmett and, all these guys opportunities, but it also gives other guys some rest so they can stay fresh, when they take their starts.
Dave, Hazen doesn't face lefty that very often, but which it happened tonight. How did he earn that right?
I thought, I thought he took a really good at bat. He shot a ball the other way and got an infield hit, and that's what he's going to do against a lefty. We have some good right-handed options, so there are times that last night I went to, right-hand hitter, but tonight I just felt that, I wanted to stay with Haesung, keep his bat in the game, and he proved the right decision. He had a good at bat. But yeah, there's gonna be times that he faces lefties, but I just feel that, he's really good versus right. And I also like to use our right-handed bats if given an opportunity.
I think you guys are leading the majors right now with batting average, scoring, home runs. I mean, how much of that keeps coming back to just like the quality of at bats that you're getting up and down?
It's great. It's great. And, Leiter tonight has got good stuff. And what we did against him to, not allow him to finish 5 innings, get into their bullpen again early. There's a lot of things that, the Muncie at bat, I think it was like a, 10-pitch at bat to earn a walk and, hitting it some double plays. But I think that we're really taking good at bats. And even some of the guys that really haven't got going, they will. But it's nice, the other guys, Teo gets a big hit today. Andy's been consistently very good. And it was good to see Will get on base a few times. So it's nice when everyone's not going to be, firing on all cylinders, but we still, 1 through 9, I see a good team offensive approach.
So does the left center field gap just belong to Andy now?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, yeah, exactly. That was, we got to make sure we clean that up because it's funny when the play gets made, but we got to make sure that, the communication is clear.
What did you think about lead-off home run in return?
What was that again? I'm sorry?
Lead-off home run in return from Shohei?
Oh, yeah. I think it was great. They led off with the leadoff homer, and Emmett, shut him down after that. But for us to get that leadoff home run by Shohei to then even the score was great. And Shohei, like we've talked about, he's gonna hit his home runs. But it's just good that, he's still taking his walks and he's getting on base, seems like every game.